October 18th, 2016, Parish Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Would you all please stand while Coach Williams says the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Our gracious Father in heaven, again we come thanking Thee for allowing us to see another blessed day. Thank Thee for life, for health, and for strength. We thank Thee, Lord, for the opportunity for which You give us to serve our parish. And we pray, Lord, for those who are not here, those who are suffering throughout this land, that they may be taken care of in a proper way. And we pray for this board, we pray for this staff. And we pray for those who've come tonight seeking our help, Lord. Let the Holy Spirit guide and lead us that we might do that which is correct in Your sight and not in ours. And this we offer as our prayer this night. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Christie, would you please call the roll?
Chair Jake Porche,
Here.
Mr. Randy Armentor,
Here.
Miss Betty Brown,
Here.
Miss Latricia Cobb,
Here.
Miss Julia Dickerson,
Here.
Miss Sharon Galicia, Mr. Kyle Link,
Here.
Mr. Art Little,
Here.
Mr. Gary Navarre, he's out of town, Mr. Kirk Smith,
Here.
and Mr. LaSalle Williams.
Here.
Thank you, Ms. Christie. This is an 11-member board, and will take a majority of those members present to grant or deny any requests heard tonight. The chair will refrain from voting unless that vote might affect the outcome. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the request from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone and state your name, address, and the nature of your request. All persons wishing to speak other than the applicant need to fill out a blue request to appear form located at the back of the room. The form must be given to a staff member prior to the reading of that particular agenda item. As required by this board's bylaws, in all cases, the proponents will be limited to 10 minutes. Opponents will be granted 10 minutes as well, with each speaker allowed no more than 3 minutes. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there's a large group wanting to speak on the same agenda item. If 4 or more speaker request forms are submitted, the time allowed for individual speakers will be limited based upon the number of forms submitted. The chair has the right to limit speakers who present redundant information or personal attacks. In unique situation, the chair may extend, or the board may vote to extend, the time allowed for each speaker. After discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board after the vote. Zoning exceptions and variances are final tonight. The rezoning cases will go before the police jury for final action on October 20th, 2016. This meeting is being taped by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed Wednesday and Thursday following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website at www.cppj.net. Channel 5 in Lake Charles, Sulphur, Moss Bluff, Westlake, Benton, DeQuincy, and Gillis. Channel 99 in Carlos and Grand Lake. At this time, I would ask that you turn off all electronic devices or any noisemakers. Agenda 5, item 5 on the agenda, I'd like to turn it to Mr. Wes Crane for the election of officers.
Thank you, Jake. I apologize to the audience. This is, we're having to take care of some official business here. We have to elect a chair and a vice chair. So in doing so, I'd like to ask for any nominations for the chair.
I nominate Jake Porche.
Mr. Porche's been nominated.
Agree.
Okay, I need a second.
I second that.
All right. Are there any other nominations for chair? Any other nominations for chair? I need a motion to close the nominations for the chair.
I'll make that motion.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Mr. Porche, you're the chair.
Thank you for your vote of confidence. At this time, we'll open nominations for vice chair. Do I have any nominees for vice chair?
I nominate Art Little.
All right, have a nomination.
Second.
Second. All right. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? All right, at this point, I'd like to, someone make a motion to close the nominations for vice chair.
So moved.
All right, and a second?
Second.
All right. Congratulations, Mr. Art Little.
Thank
You're
you,
vice
sir.
chair.
And
Thank
and
you
this
very
is just for the term through
Yes.
December. We do have to hold another election in December.
In December, we will vote for 2017.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Correct.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
if I may, first, congratulations on being chair.
Thank you.
There's been a lot of discussion about item number 25.
Sure.
There may be a request to this board to defer action on that item. So if I could maybe suggest that the chair entertain a motion to take that item out of order and hear from the applicant on that one.
Sure.
We would need a motion to take it out of order, though.
Okay. Did you guys hear? Ms. Latricia Cobb will make a motion to relocate agenda item 25 to present to a motion for defer.
Yeah. So
Okay,
moved.
second? All right. So we're now going to discuss
First, we need
the
a-
deferral.
Yeah, first we need to vote on that motion to take
Okay.
it out of order.
All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. So now we will discuss,
We'll call 25, item 25.
Okay.
You can go to that
Gotcha.
reading.
Item 25, take appropriate action on case RZ 07-060-16, a request by Old Penn LLC to rezone from agricultural A1 to heavy industrial restricted I2R to allow restricted heavy industrial development, a solid waste sanitary landfill and industrial solid waste site at the intersection of Highway 108 West and, pardon me, and Gum Island Road in Ward 7. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to recuse myself from this vote.
Okay. Let the record show that Mr. Kyle Link is recusing himself from agenda item 25.
And Mr. Forche, if you don't get a motion to entertain the item, you could ask for a motion to defer at this point as well.
Okay.
So if
What would
anybody-
you guys prefer?
If any board member wants to make a motion to defer in a second, that would probably be the way to go.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to defer.
Okay. We've got a motion to defer by Ms. Latricia Cobb and seconded by Ms. Brown. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 25 is deferred. Sir?
To the next meeting.
To the next meeting.
Correct.
Do we need to-
For 30 days? Deferred for 30 days.
To the next meeting.
Just
next
for the
meeting.
record,
We need to
it's
explain.
November 15th.
Okay, so anyone present here for agenda item 25, that item has been deferred until the next meeting in November. Does everyone?
November 15th.
November 15th. And I'll allow a brief recess for you guys to exit.
Will this be deferred from the police jury meeting automatically?
Yes, sir. Okay. I would assume. A question was brought up by Mr. Little. Would this be deferred on the police jury level as well?
It would be. The police jury cannot act until the Plan and Zoning Board makes a recommendation.
Okay.
It'll show up on the agenda.
Right.
as it being-
It's deferred from us. Okay.
If y'all could please clear the room as swiftly as possible and as quietly as possible.
Jake, I've got this one here. There's nothing on it except an RV park.
Okay?
Ms. Jennifer, Ms. Wallace, the RV park,
We got, these are three of them.
Roy Road, 6, 7, and 8, is that we don't have an agenda item on one of these blue cards, so Mr. Little's trying to place it.
Who's the speaker?
Myers. It just says RV park. I think we got about 4 of them on here.
David Myers. David Myers.
It looks like we had 7 of them withdrawn. Number 19, he's from Nyson Landing.
19.
19.
Okay.
Okay.
19.
19.
No, he-
19, thank you.
Okay. Agenda item 6. I would like to announce that case VA 04-026-16, a request by Cole Langford LLC for a variance to reduce the lot size requirements required 5,000 square feet and 50 feet in width. He is requesting 2,000 square feet and 29 feet in width at 1201 and 1207 Ravia Road in Ward 4 has been withdrawn. Item 7, I'd like to announce that case VA 04-027-16, a request by, is this the same thing?
Similar. but
Okay,
different.
I
It's a
got you.
different location.
A request by Cole Langford LLC for a variance to reduce the lot size requirements required 5,000 square feet and 50 feet in width, requesting 2,000 square feet and 30 feet in width at 3919 South Douglas Parkway in Ward 4 has also been withdrawn. Item 8, no action is required on case VA 04-032-16, a request by Dalton Langford for a variance to reduce the lot size requirement, requires 5,000 square feet and 50 foot in width, requesting 2,000 square feet and 30 feet in width at 4007 and 4009 B South Douglas Parkway in Ward 4, because the rezoning case was denied by the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury on October 6, 2016. Agenda item 9. Take appropriate action on case VA 04-034-16, a request by Gina Stutz for a variance to decrease the front yard setback requirement for an accessory building, required 60 feet, requesting 45 feet, and to allow the accessory buildings to exceed the maximum square footage, allowed 2,000 square feet, requesting 2,308 square feet at 1635 Daigle Road in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion to defer for 30 days.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb. Need a second? Second by Mr. Smith. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes or is deferred. Item 10, take appropriate action on case VA 04-036-16, a request by Sasol Chemicals LLC for a variance to allow temporary buildings used in connection for construction to exceed 6-month period, requesting 2 years at 4315 East Burton Street in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb,
Second.
second by Ms. Brown. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in Mossville and encompasses 2.5 acres of mixed residential zone land to facilitate an expansion project at the nearby rail yard. The petitioners have granted KCS permission to utilize the property for temporary construction office structures. The trailers are allowed by right for a period of 6 months. However, due to the complex nature of the overall project, the offices will be needed for 2 years. Because the structures are temporary, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may make adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations, and that the structures are removed by October 18th of 2018.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? If you do, you may come to the podium at this time. No? We do not have any blue cards. Questions or comments by the board? Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 11, take appropriate action on case EX 07-029-16, a request by J.S. Broussard Farms, LLC, for an exception to allow a borrow pit, 80 acres, at Gum Cove Road, south of the Intercoastal Waterway in Ward 7. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb. Second by Ms. Dickerson. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located between Hackberry and the Intercoastal Waterway and encompasses 90 acres of agricultural zone land. The petitioner plans to excavate a borrow pit and utilize barges on the Intercoastal Canal to transport the material to construction sites. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development must be in accordance with Section 26-122-1F4 of the Parish Code, that a bond in the amount of $75,000 is required prior to permitting.
with said bond returned to the petitioner once the pit is complete and the used portion of the road is brought up to parish aggregate standards, that the petitioner or a representative must grade and fill holes on Gum Cove Road daily, maintaining a crown to prevent standing water throughout the duration of off-site hauling, and that hauling be limited to Gum Cove Road access to a point north on the Intracoastal Waterway.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
Hi, Chris Corey, 825 Ryan Street, Lake Charles, representative for JS Broussard Farms. So you got a packed house. I'll try and keep it short and sweet. Just three major components that make this application unique from many of the other borough pit applications you've been receiving. And it was said earlier, just improving public safety by getting trucks off the road, less impact on our infrastructure, roadways, and just cost efficiency in general, and being able to move this fill via the intercoastal and barge. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them now.
Any questions for Mr. Corey?
The only question I have is the hours of operation is 5 a.m. to 9. Is that 9 p.m.? Is that correct?
We just didn't want to limit ourselves with hours of operation. There's really no residents in the nearby proximity to affect. Right now, we couldn't really testify for what it would be, so we tried to keep it very open on our application.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, if I
Yes,
could
miss.
just clarify, if you all pass this with the stipulations that we've proposed, one of those that's already in the code states that it would be daylight hours only.
And you're aware of that, Mr. Corey? Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Corey? Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments by the board? All right, seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 11 passes. Item 12, take appropriate action on case EX 01-030-16, a request by Ricky LeBlanc for an exception to allow residential development, 13 units, at 643 North Perkins Ferry Road in Ward 1. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Dickerson. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Moss Bluff area and encompasses nearly 2 acres of mixed residential and light commercial zone land. Currently on the property is an existing home. If approved, the petitioner plans to construct 12 additional units within 6 duplex structures. All the units will be rentals. The new units will consist of 2 bedrooms and 1 bath in 1,900 square feet. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans; that the development adheres to stormwater best management practices; that a drainage impact analysis will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering; that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties; and 5, that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code of Ordinances.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Mr. Gabb, we do have 2 blue cards for this item. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? If so, you may come to the podium at this time. Okay. I will call, is it Brad Landry? Brady Landry? Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Sir, Brady Landry, 1467 Muskogee, Lake Charles. My biggest concerns with this property is that what is the item or the clientele he's trying to bring in for it, and I understand with that, and then with the long term, is he going to fall once the clientele now that he's looking for leaves? Is it going to be, where is he going to get his clientele from? My biggest concern is with property value in the area. And also with traffic in the area as well. I understand maybe 24 more vehicles won't be bad, but once you add them up in the morning and everything, it starts to add up, trying to get out of there in the morning for work and coming back home.
Okay. Any other comments?
No, sir, that is
All right. Thank you, Mr. Landry. You may be seated. Mr. Robert Howard.
Robert Howard, I live next door, 615 North Perkins Ferry Road. I'm not opposed. I live next door. There's apartments on the other side of my house. I'm not necessarily opposed to the development. It's I would have probably done it myself. My only question to the board is that, and I've talked to the gentleman. He seems like he's going to do a great job. I'm fine with all of that. Just as far as drainage, when the drainage happens, is it going to be on record that I'm assuming, and I'm 99% sure he will, but is there anything that is on record that forces him to make sure he does the proper fencing and does the proper drainage so we don't have drainage over on my
Absolutely.
property?
This is simply step one in the process to determine the land use, if it's appropriate for this development. Then would start the permitting process, which would include traffic, drainage, building structure, codes, all that.
Okay,
Yes,
sounds
sir.
good. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, if the applicant would like to address any of the comments, you may come to the podium at this time.
My name is Ryan Terrell. I am the one trying to purchase the property,
Your address, please.
1758 Deerfield Drive, Moss Bluff. As far as clientele, I'm not 100% sure exactly what he's talking about there. As far as the
Just the type of
the renters, I
tenants.
guess?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, whoever I guess wants
Good
to
one,
rent it.
right?
Yeah, right. I mean, if
People that want to
yeah, I mean, I don't have anybody in mind. Whoever can afford it, I suppose. But I mean, I plan on following whatever rules and guidelines y'all give me or whatever. I typically build new construction homes of, I guess, high quality or whatever, the $300,000+ price range. So I do plan on doing something that would, stay within that realm of
Sure.
good craftsmanship or whatever. I also live off of North Perkins Road, so personally I don't see where, sure there's a lot of traffic there, but there's also a lot of outlets that, for people to come and go as they will. But if y'all have any questions, I'll...
Any questions by the board?
answer.
Ms.
Mr.
Cox.
Lewis, I think when he asked what kind of clientele, do you have applications and do you do background checks on your tenants? That would be,
Well, this would be my first, rental scenario, I guess. I have mentors that are in that arena, I guess, that I would, discuss with, which I'm sure y'all seen them on this podium many a times. But yes, no, I don't want anyone that's going to go in and trash my stuff, just like they don't want to see it trashed. So I would venture to say that I would want it less than they would want it. So.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. You may be seated. Any other questions or comments by the board? Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 12 passes. Item 13, take appropriate action on case EX02-031-16, a request by Edmund Elms for an exception to allow a borrow pit, 39 acres, at 5279 Highway 397 East in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Coach Williams and a second by Ms. Brown. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Homewood area and encompasses 156 acres of agricultural zone land. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations. The development must be in accordance with Section 26-1221F4 of the Parish Code, and that the excavation be subject to future bonding requirements in the event parish roads are impacted by hauling.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? If so, you may come to the podium at this time. Please state your name and address, sir.
My name is Thomas Helms, and I'm here with Edmund Helms. We appreciate your consideration. The subject property is 23.5 feet in elevation. It's actually the part of Helms Road, which is a State 397. It's a state road, and we plan to do everything up and above board and be in compliance with everything. And all it is Helmses that live around there, so we're not opposed to it, and we hope that y'all aren't either, and we appreciate your consideration.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions or comments by the board? Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 13 passes. Item 14, take appropriate action on case RZ 04-062-16, a request by Erica Jackson to rezone from mixed residential R2 to manufactured home park, to allow a manufactured home park, 3 spaces at 3129 East Burton Street in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb and a second by Mr. Smith. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in Mossville and encompasses 3 acres of land. The petitioner recently purchased the property. If the request is approved, she plans to develop 3 spaces, and at least 2 will be rental. Her son may reside in the 3rd unit. Because the proposed zoning is consistent with the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans, that a drainage impact analysis will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development, and that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 26-50 of the Parish Code of Ordinances.
Thank you, Ms.
And
Wallace.
Very quickly,
Yes.
before you move on, we do have a letter in opposition that is on your tablets, and the woman that wrote the letter is unable to attend tonight, so I just wanted to point that out.
Okay. The applicant is present, and you have anything that you'd like to add to the staff's presentation, you may come to the podium at this time. Okay. All right. Any questions or comments by the board?
Jennifer, when it says screening, is that fencing?
It could be fencing or landscaping, and it's required anytime a new manufactured home park abuts a residential use.
Okay, and then have to submit that plan to you guys, you'd have to.
At the time of permitting, yes.
Ms.
Jennifer,
Cobb.
is this limited to 3 spaces, or can she put more at a later date, or?
If you all tie her to the site plan, as we suggest in the stipulations, it would be tied to 3 only.
And the 10-foot variance from the trailer to the property line, that's within our ordinance on that? On the site plan, it's showing a 10-foot from the property line to the back of that manufactured home.
I think that might be approved. Let me check with my research team. It's approved.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments by the board? Since we do have a letter of opposition, let's do a roll call vote.
Ms. Cobb,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Felicia,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Dickerson,
Yes.
Mr. Little,
Yes?
Mr. Link,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and Mr. Armator.
Yes.
Item 14 passes. Item 15, take appropriate action on case RZ 03-053-16, a request by Gerald Lewis to rezone from agricultural to multifamily residential to allow a multifamily development 20 units at 5004 Ryan Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Coach Williams. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in South Lake Charles and consists of 4 acres of land. If approved, the petitioner plans to construct 10 duplexes for a total of 20 units. Half the units will be 3-bedroom, and the other half will be 2-bedroom. All the units will be approximately 1,400 square feet in size. Because the development is consistent with the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments, that the development adhere to stormwater best management practices, that a drainage impact analysis will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, and that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? Okay. Any questions or comments by the board?
I'd like
Ms.
to
Brown.
know how many acres we're talking about, how much land?
It's 4 acres.
4 acres, okay.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 15 passes. Item 16, take appropriate action on case VA 03-038-16, a request by Gerald Lewis for a variance to increase density requirements, allowed 10 units, requesting 20 units at 5004 Ryan Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Coach Williams. Ms. Wallace.
I apologize. I was checking with the research team. This is the same property that was included in the previous case. In this situation, he would like to request a variance for the number of units, and the staff does recommend that the request be granted because it's consistent with the area, because it does abut the city of Lake Charles, and their standards are quite a bit more generous. We recommend that it be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, that the development adhere to stormwater best management practices, that a DIA will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted, that exterior lighting be oriented inward, and that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. If the applicant would like to speak, you may come to the podium at this time. All right, questions or comments by the board? Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 16 passes. Item 17, take appropriate action on case RZ 04-054-16, a request by Robin Broussard to rezone from single-family residential to light commercial to allow light commercial development, convenience store, and retail store on the northeast corner of Curry Drive and Pizza Road in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in Carlos and encompasses nearly 2 acres of land. Should the request be approved, the petitioner plans to construct a 3,200 square foot building to be used as a convenience store. The store will include gasoline sales and a separate retail sales component to benefit neighboring residences, and he may do a feed store or a meat market or something similar. The use will include hard surface parking and drives, a monument sign, a painted brick exterior, and a 6-foot wooden fence. And because there is similar zoning within the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, that a DIA and a traffic impact analysis will be required unless appropriate waivers are granted by the Division of Engineering, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward, that any signage will not be illuminated or aimed to project into the windows of neighboring residences, that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code, that a landscape plan must be submitted, and that the approved screening and landscaping must be installed prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Mr. Gabb, we have numerous blue cards, but they have selected a spokesperson along with one of our elected officials. I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Judd Bears is here with us, police juryman. So at this time, if the applicant would like to speak on your behalf, if you have anything to add to the staff's presentation, you may come to the podium at this time. Okay, sure. We'll call Mr. Judd Bears. Please state your name and address, sir.
Thank you. Congratulations, Chairman Porche. Judd Barris, 2220 Bond V Drive, Sulphur, Louisiana, 70665. Thank you, first of all, commissioners, for your time and energy on all this. This area right here is not far. It's about a mile or so from my house. We live out where we live. A lot of people in this room, we live out where we live for a reason. We moved that far away from things for a reason. I've lived out there for 40 years, and I've never once said, you know, that drive to Tibbs is just killing me. You know, or that drive to Fisherman's is just too dang long. We're fine with that. We live out there. It's by design, okay? There is a similarly zoned piece of property. That was a convenience store. I don't know how convenient it was. They were always out of milk. But that was RG's 40 years ago, 30 years ago, okay? It went away for a reason. So please take that into consideration. And I'll leave you with this. One story, this Mr. Navarre called me, and he's got the property adjoining that to the east, and he says, man, I've had that property, and I've had my eye on doing something with it. I live somewhere else. We want to go build my last house. I paid $70,000 to get my land mitigated. I just got that. He goes, I just got it in the mail today, and now this. So please take that into consideration. And again, I appreciate your time and energy.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Bear? Thank you, sir. Is it Jackie Green?
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Green. I reside at 3608 Pete Say Road, Sulphur, Louisiana, and I am a new resident to the Corliss area. I moved there in 2014 as part of the Sasol buyout. In moving from the Mossville community, we really looked for a country living environment where I could also move my almost 80-year-old mother, where she could live out the rest of her years peacefully and quietly. I also purchased a piece of property in the stretch from Mr. Broussard that my brother is planning on building a home as well in the Corliss community. Last Thursday, the Corliss residents, my wonderful neighbors, we had a community meeting to discuss Mr. Broussard's proposal to put a convenience store on the corner in our neighborhood. We are adamantly against it for several reasons. Some of those, as Mr. Barr stated, Tibbs is right down the street, Fisherman's. We have a new convenience store that maybe has only been open 3 months on the corner of 27 and Corliss Drive, which is not far from us as well. Again, I concur with him. We live there for a reason. It is a community. It is a neighborhood. We like the lifestyle that we choose to live there. We are very concerned about the effect on our property values, about the what's next, how much more can be developed if that piece of land becomes light commercial. We are concerned about the traffic and crime, and we're concerned about all the elements, the gas tanks. As he mentioned in the Navarres, it would be 75 feet away from their home where they've gone through years of mitigation issues to be able to build. So I would like to ask my neighbors to please stand who are in opposition of this gas station. Thank you. So we adamantly oppose the development of a large retail gas station of any type in our community. It would most definitely be in our back door, even if the lighting is situated to go in. We're concerned about drainage. We're concerned about all the asphalt. We're concerned about everything that would turn our neighborhood into, bring a retail market into our neighborhood. So we are opposing today, and we have a petition here with about 25 to 30 names of other residents who may not be here with us today that are in opposition also of the rezoning of this property. Thank you.
Can submit that to Mr. Crane.
Yes, sir, I can.
Any questions for Ms. Green? Thank you, ma'am. You may be seated. At this time, if the applicant would like to address any of the concerns of the opposition, you may come to the podium at this time.
My name is Robin Broussard. I live at 433 Gerald Drive in Corliss. Well, I've heard all of this, and I do understand their feelings. I bought the property not for this reason, and it has changed for me. And so I have subdivided the 5 acres I bought several years ago into 5 lots and kept the corner in case I wanted to live there or if I wanted to give it to my children. I see a need with the growing community of Carlos to have a business at that location. And when they put the interstate exchange just north of there on Peace A Road, it's going to be the first corner coming off the interstate that the traffic will see. And there's a lot of people that now go that way to get to Vinton that work at LNG and Hackberry to go back to Texas. So that route is going to get busier when Carlos grows from all the approved subdivisions that are already under construction and the ones that are currently being designed for approval. Just down the street where Mr. Barris lives, they're building a really big subdivision. And if any of y'all have been to Tibbs, it's a little bitty store, and it's the only store in Carlos that's west of Highway 27 in the entire Carlos area. Competition helps, no matter where you're at. And in this case, it could benefit a lot of the residents, and the store would be a well-designed, well-lit store for safety and convenience of all the residents, the ones that are there now and all the ones that will be there as new residents of all these subdivisions because of the growing demographics of Carlos in all the area with all the economic impacts. The traffic. I understand they're worried about the traffic. One store that hasn't been built, that may not be built for 3-4 years, who knows when I'm going to get to that point, is going to be eliminated pretty much when they 4-lane that road from the interstate exchange all the way to Walker Road. The other thing they're not talking about is all the traffic that's fixing to happen on Highway 27 from the interstate to Dave Dugas when they 4-lane it. And then all these convenience stores and trips to and from town aren't going to be so convenient. And not everybody's going to go the way right by Tibbs to go home. They're going to need something else. So that's going to create the need. I have the location, the desire, and I want to put a store there one day. If they would just let things grow in Carlos, it's not going to be just on that corner. There's going to be other corners needing other things in the future because you can't stop growth. I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but to limit it to one store that's already in existence, that's not growing. So for my part, it's more of the economic impact that it would provide the residents, the parish for all the revenue that it would generate and the taxes it would save them in the area. And you need more than one store. If something happened to that store, hurricane, tornado, you wouldn't have another choice. They'd have to go down Highway 27 to get to a store. And like I said, eventually, soon, hopefully, the state's going to fix the road by widening it. But when they do, it's going to cause a lot of delays with the already long delays in the traffic that's there every morning and every afternoon when I go to work and come home because of all the expansion projects south of Sulphur. And if you've ever been that way, it's pretty bad in the afternoon. I've seen days where it's backed up from Walker Road all the way to Fisherman's Headquarters trying to get to Sulphur. It used to not be like that, ever. And it's just beginning, as everybody knows. So I can't stop that, and that's not going to increase the traffic where the store's at. Except for the people that are already doing it, they figured out, hey, I don't want to go this way home. I'm going to cut through, and I'm going to take the other route, which is right down Pete's A Road, hop over the overpass, and go to Vinton when they go home. I didn't create the traffic. It's already there. The parish and the state need the help for that part. And when they put the exchange in, because Sulphur's already got the approval for the road on North Sulphur, on the north side of the interstate and the south side, that's all going to connect to the interstate exchange at Pete's A Road. So that right there is going to eliminate all the
Thank you,
traffic.
Mr. Broussard. Any questions or comments for Mr. Broussard?
I got a question.
Mr. Armitage?
You had stated that you subdivided 5 acres bordering that,
Yes.
turned it into residential, and was that 2 acres part of that when you rezoned
No,
that?
never was.
Wasn't part of that? Did you have any restrictions placed on that?
No.
They could put anything they wanted on?
On the, you talking about on the,
On the 5 acres you subdivided?
oh, yes. Yeah, it's a restricted, approved
Restricted
subdivision by the
Right.
parish.
But the 2 acres wasn't part of that subdivision when you,
No, it wasn't. It was just like it when I bought it.
okay, it hasn't been rezoned then
No.
recently?
That's what I'm here for. And that's why it sits out like that on the corner.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Broussard.
Thank you.
Mr. Bears, our elected official, has sent another request to speak, so if you will come to the podium at this time. Mr. Broussard, I will allow you, after Mr. Bears' comments, if you want to follow up with anything. Mr. Gabb, 1 minute.
Thank you. The interchange that he is speaking of has been on the books since 1992. I'm a betting man. It's not going to see the light of day for probably that much longer. Don't bank this whole project on something that we can't even see from here. Okay? As far as the convenience, we are all convenienced out. We've got on Carlos Drive, that's on the west side. We've got a brand new Circle K coming on the west side at Walker. We've got Cajun Fast Mart. We've got Fisherman's. Okay? And one of them places even has a 24-hour tire place. We're good. So just please take that into consideration. Thanks again.
Thank you. Mr. Broussard, if you would like to address any of those comments, I'll give you that privilege. Yes,
Sure.
please keep it.
Sure.
We're well
It's
beyond
real
our
simple.
discussion period.
All the stores he's talking about are on Highway 27. None of them are in Carlos, and none of them are anywhere near Tibbs. And in this case, what he's talking about of the interstate exchange, that's like everything else. Failing to plan is planning to fail, and the state is what's doing that, not me. I'm planning to do something different, and if they widen the road, doesn't mean it's going to go all the way to the interstate. Who knows when that's going to happen? But I can't wait. This is my time.
Thank you, sir.
Broussard, I got one question.
Coach Williams.
You mentioned the fact that how long these people have been there, all these years, and they've had only that one store or 2 stores, and they never complained about traveling from one store from where they live. So apparently they're happy with what's there now, but if you're going to add some more, and I can see the point is as long as that it's a 2-lane highway, and it's getting worse. I've been out there, and it's not going to get any better. And certainly, I would be concerned also. I know what the point is. We need improvement. We need these, cause we got these new people coming in, but they're going to be in and out. But look at these people who live there every day. These people just passing through. And I'm concerned, and I'm getting more concerned with these people who coming in here because they don't respect no law. They'll run over you. They'll give you the finger and do all of that. I'm telling you what I know. I see it every day. And it disturbs me because in the outset, when we started all this development, this was one of the concerns. And I think somebody brought up the point: if they come in, they don't obey the law, we're gonna get them out. But they ain't going nowhere. But most of these people who violating, and I'm looking at, they got out-of-state license plate, and I'm really concerned with that. And we got to live with that. And I don't know if you looked at it.
No public applause. No applause. Please remain in order.
But I know we're all in here to make some money, but we don't want to make it inconvenient for the people who've been here all their lives.
Thank you, Coach Williams. Any other questions for Mr. Broussard?
Can I say something to that?
No, sir. Any other questions for Mr. Broussard? Thank you, sir. We're well beyond our time for discussion. with the applicant. Any questions or comments by the board?
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
In regards to the area, at this corner, Curry Road is a very busy road in Corliss. About 600 foot to the east of this subdivision, of this service station, convenience store that's being applied, is Hunters Cove West. Hunters Cove West has somewhere around 40 to 45 homes in it on a high-end $300,000, $400,000 homes. Immediately to the east of that is Hunter Cove East. It's the same type subdivision. These homes, these people moved out there for that. It's not an inconvenience for them to go a mile and a half to Highway 27 get their whatever they need to be convenient. About 3/4 of a mile further east is Sandria Estates, which is another subdivision, high-end subdivision with $500,000 homes in it, somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 homes, and it's already expanding further to the east of it with additional homes. The piece of property immediately to the east is a Mr. Navarre. There's another piece of property immediately to the east of that, and from there to the Hunters Cove is the future expansion of another Hunters Cove coming. So what we'd be doing is putting these homes that people are moving out there for a reason to stay away from that and drive for their convenience 1.5 miles, 2 miles up to Highway 27. So that's why they're there, and I think this is a bad location to try to put this convenient store here in Corliss. Thank you.
Mr. Little, any other comments by the board? Ms. Christie, let's do a roll call vote.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Ms. Brown?
No.
Mr. Little?
No?
Mr. Smith?
No.
Ms. Dickerson?
No.
Mr. Link?
No.
Ms. Felicia?
No.
Mr. Ormentor?
Nay.
Ms. Cobb?
No.
9 against.
Item 17 fails. If we'll allow a couple seconds for y'all to clear the room if you would like. Please be brief and quiet. Okay, moving on to item 18. I would like to announce that case RZ03-055-16, a request by Michael Hurd to rezone from heavy industrial to recreational vehicle park to allow recreational vehicle park 71 spaces in the 3500 block of West Tank Farm Road in Ward 3 has been withdrawn. Item 19, take appropriate action on case RZ03-056-16, a request by Neeson, is that the correct pronunciation? Neeson? Nison's Landing LLC to rezone from agricultural to recreational vehicle park to allow recreational vehicle park 63 spaces at 8878 Gulf Highway in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brown and a second by Ms. Cobb. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located south of Lake Charles and encompasses 13 acres of land. If approved, the petitioners plan to utilize the existing drives off Gulf Highway to access the park. The park will include a large area reserved for recreational use and a permanent structure serving as an office, laundry, and bathing facility. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that a drainage impact analysis will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, that permitting is subject to approval from the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, and that RV park model types are prohibited.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Mr. Gabb, we have 3 blue cards in opposition. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? You may come to the podium at this time.
Hi, my name is Justin Nyson. I'm the principal manager of Nyson's Landing. We'd like to thank y'all for the opportunity to address y'all. At this point, though, we do feel that there's a genuine need to meet with the public about the park, and I'm asking if we can please have a rescheduled meeting to present this after meeting with the citizens of the town. I feel like it actually needs to happen. I spoke.
Request to defer?
Yes,
or
please, to the
till
November
next
15th.
meeting?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I would entertain a motion to defer till the next
So
meeting.
Second.
We've got a motion by Mr. Armentar and a second by Ms. Cobb. All in, well, we can discuss the motion. Any questions or comments on the deferral only? No questions or comments? All in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion deferred.
Thank you.
Please, no comments from the audience, and I will allow a few seconds for the next wave to clear. Please keep your volume down. Clear the room quickly, please. We will hear your comments at the next meeting. Please clear the room. Yeah. There's just a quartet left. Item 20, take appropriate action on case RZ 03-057-16, a request by Charles Goodman to rezone from mixed residential to light industrial to allow light industrial development storage yard at 213 Goodman Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Little and a second by Ms. Dickerson. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located east of Lake Charles and encompasses 5 acres. If approved, the land will be sold to Cavco Valve for the business to use for pipe storage. Cavco is a supply company located approximately 500 feet west of this site. The yard will consist of an aggregate surface and will be fenced and lighted. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code, and that permitting is subject to approval from the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? Okay. Any questions or comments by the board? Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 20 passes. Item 21, take appropriate action on case RZ 04-058-16, a request by Talco 2 LLC to rezone from general commercial to light industrial to allow light industrial development warehouse at 2900 block of East Napoleon Street in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Coach Williams and a second by Ms. Cobb. Ms. Wallace.
This property is just north of the city of Sulphur and encompasses 2.5 acres. Tolco is a company specializing in climate-controlled industrial storage. Currently, Tolco has a number of warehouses at the main location, which is approximately a quarter of a mile to the east. If approved, this will be Tolco's 6th building in the area. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, that a DIA will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, and that permitting is subject to approval or exemption from the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? Okay. Any questions or comments by the board? Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 21 passes. Item 22, take appropriate action on case VA04-039-16, a request by Toco 2 LLC for a variance to decrease the parking space requirement. Requires 145, they're requesting 5 in the 2900 block of East Napoleon Street in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb and a second by Ms. Dickerson. Ms. Wallace.
This is the same property discussed in the previous item. The company has submitted a statement indicating that the building will not have an office, nor will any employees be based out of this building. The building and the parking areas would be utilized on an as-needed basis only. Because no employees are based here, the staff recommends that the request be granted.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Wallace. If the applicant would like to speak or add to the staff's presentation, you may come to the podium at this time. Any questions or comments by the board?
Mr. President, my comment is, he's asking for a variance to go to 5 spot places. I think, according to our ordinance, it's 145 places,
correct.
which is less than a 5%. I mean, we're cutting that. What happens if, once it's built in 5 years and we don't have any place to park people, if somebody comes in?
Well, it's a storage facility, so the way I understand it is that the employees will come as needed to drop things off or to pick them up, that nobody really stays there. And actually, it was either last year or the year before you granted a similar request for Eagle Electric right down the road. So,
And they are, I know their business and they do good work down the street. Just
Yeah.
questioning that. Thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments by the board? All right. Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 22 passes. Item 23, take appropriate action on case RZ03-059-16, a request by Lavoie Land Company, LLC, to rezone from mixed residential and general commercial to multifamily residential and general commercial, to allow multifamily residential development, 42 units, and to allow general commercial development or restaurant and intensive recreational use at 5717 Common Street in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So move.
Got a motion by Mr. Little. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in South Lake Charles and encompasses 10 acres. Under this request, the petitioner would like to expand the existing commercial zoning and rezone the remainder for multifamily use. If approved, the property will be sold and the new owner would construct the improvements. Within the commercial zoning, a restaurant would be built along with 13 beach volleyball courts. The multifamily area will be separated from the commercial section through fencing and an open area to be used for stormwater ponding. The proposed units will build out as 4-unit townhome structures, and the units will be 2-story with brick exteriors. Because the proposed uses are consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to plans, that a DIA will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development, that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code, and that permitting is subject to approval from the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? All right. Any questions or comments by the board?
Intensive recreational use, what that mean?
Coach Williams, as far as I understand, it's a beach volleyball.
Right, it's the beach volleyball, and it's really based on the land surface that's impacted.
Any other questions, comments by the board? All right, seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 23 passes. Item 24, take appropriate action on case VA03-037-16, a request by Lavoie Land Company, LLC, for a variance to increase density requirements, allow 25 units, requesting 42 units at 5617 Common Street in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cobb and a second by Mr. Armitage. Ms. Wallace.
This is the same property that was considered in the previous request. It's just that the developer will need a variance on the number of units. Because the proposed density is comparable with city standards, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the same stipulations that were included in the previous request.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Any questions or comments by the board? All right. Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 24 passes. Action was taken earlier to defer item 25. Next item on the agenda is to advise that the police jury took the following action on September 22nd, 2016, with reference to the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board from the September 20th, 2016 meeting. Applicant Wesdell at East Telephone Road, we deferred and the police jury upheld. Applicant Langford at South Douglas Parkway, we passed and the police jury deferred. Applicant Connor at location Broad Street, we passed and the police jury upheld. Applicant Floyd at Bro Road, we passed and the police jury overturned. Applicant Driftwood at Burton Shipyard, we passed and the police jury upheld. Applicant Goldsmith Farms at Clyde Delaney Road, we passed, police jury deferred. Applicant Vale at Elms Road, we passed and the police jury upheld. Item 27, advise that the next regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning meeting will be held on Tuesday, November 15th, 2016 in the police jury meeting room. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'm sorry, Mr. Crane.
Mr. Chairman, point of personal privilege, please.
Sure.
Just want to welcome, we hadn't officially
I'm
welcomed Mr. Randall Armitage. Mr. Armitage was appointed to the board in place of Elijah Gillard. Just wanted to formally welcome him
Yes, sir.
and thank him for serving on the board.
Absolutely. Welcome, Mr. Armitage. I didn't know to do that as the old chair or the new chair.
And congratulations to you and to Mr. Little.
Yes, sir. Congratulations, Mr. Little.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Continue.
I do have a motion by Ms. Cobb to adjourn. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Brown and Mr. Smith. A third. We are adjourned.
Good job.